What's going on, guys? Mike Ashworth back again. You're watching the Texas Fishing Force. Now today we're going to go over down south lures, artificials in general. I had a few people in the comments over the last few weeks ask me to do a review, a breakdown of artificials and down south lures specifically because that's what I use a lot. So that's what we're going to go over today. Now today, it's not going to be a comprehensive, this is the exact color you need to use and this is how you need to set it up on these conditions and things like that. But I'm going to get you started. If you're new to artificials, if you're new to using down south lures, this is a good starting point. So stay tuned. All right, down south lures. Where do we start? Well, first of all, let me say this. I have zero affiliation with down south lures. I don't get paid by them. They don't give me free product. Every one of these I've bought myself. I just like them. They work for me. I'm confident in them. And because I use them a lot and people ask about them, that's why we're doing this today. But I have no affiliation with them at all. All right, now when it comes to artificials and lures like this, there are a ton of companies. And I'm sure that all of them work very well. I've used other companies and I've had success with all of them. But for me, I stick to down south lures because I'm confident in them. They work for me. I regularly catch fish on them. And so that's what I use. I've said a million times, the best lure that you can use is the one that you're most confident with. Confidence and attitude go a long way in fishing. And so that's important. It's important to find what you like, find what you don't like, and stick to it. Use it. All right. So first, let's talk about down south lures. First of all, they come in tons and tons and tons of different colors. They come in different sizes, like this. You can set them up in different ways. But the reason that I like down south lures mainly is because of the way that they swim in the water. And what I mean by that is when you're reeling them in, they do this perfect kind of side-to-side motion. And I do a lot of jerking and reeling. And so they kind of bounce perfect, but they also do this side-to-side motion. And they really react very similar to the way a fish does. And so I just have a lot of luck based on the way that they swim through the water. And you can change the way that you're reeling it in. You can change your speed. You can change the jerkiness of it, and you're going to have a lot of success with these because they just swim really, really well. Like I said before, I've had a lot of luck on down south lures, and so that's what I stick to. Now I know that some of the others, DOA and Hoagie and all of it, they have similar products, and I've used them. I just like down south lures. That's what I stick to. Again, anything that you're confident with, you're going to have better success with. So let's move on. All right. Now, when it comes to fishing, the number one thing that changes, especially when it comes to artificials, is water clarity. Some days the water is going to be super clear. Some days it's going to get really, really muddy. And I've done a video in the past on whether and how that changes the clarity. When we have certain winds, that it will muddy up the water. When we have certain winds, it will clean it up and clear it up. So you've got to pick lures based on that and based on your conditions in general. A lot of people have this misunderstanding about clear water and muddy water. And people assume that clear water means that the water is light in color, and muddy water means that it is dark in color, and that's not really the case. And because of that, people, when the water gets muddy, they try to go with the brightest lure they possibly can, and that just doesn't work. When the water gets really, really muddy, I generally try to choose a lure that is very, very dark in color. And I'll tell you, if you take a super light lure and you take a really dark lure and you go into muddy, muddy water and you put your hands in the water, just put them farther and farther and see which one you can see longer. I guarantee that these dark colored lures you're going to see longer. And And fish like trout that are very, very visual fish, they're going to see these a lot easier too. So in the muddy water, you're going to want to pick something very, very dark, or you're going to want to pick something that is extremely bright in color, something that's like neon green, neon pink, this chartreuse color. Those really, really help. And down south has an entire chartreuse down south lure. But for me, I always switch to the darkest lure I possibly can because of visibility. Now, in those clearer days, you have a lot more options. You want to pick something that gets attention. My number one go-to color every single time is Chicken of the Sea. I use Chicken of the Sea more than any other lure, more than any other down south lure. In general, I've had the most success on that. I use it all the time. That is the color I use. You don't want to always stick to that. You want to try different lures. Try what works for you. Try what doesn't. You're gonna find things. Now there's lures like, for instance, down south lures has a color called plum. I have never caught a fish on that color ever. I don't like it. I've tried it many, many times. Not a fan. However, I've talked to 2 people now, and that is their number one go-to lure every single day. They've caught more fish on that than anything else. So you've got to try what works for you. What works for me isn't always going to be the same. You've got to try them out. So a good place to start is just to figure out what you want to be using. Get a few that are really, really light in color, a few that are really, really dark. I definitely suggest, like I said earlier, Chicken of the Sea. These glow in the dark work wonders. You can use these night fishing. You can use these in muddy water. You can use these in clear water. They work well. I like the glow in the dark. They do the job. And I will generally let them kind of sit in the sun while I'm fishing, and then I'll switch over to the glow in the dark. You know, it really helps with visibility. I like them a lot. These red, down south makes quite a few different red colored lures like this. I really like this one. I think it's watermelon, maybe. I don't know. But those red ones are great in that spring and summertime when the water's a little bit clearer. Work really, really well. Now the good thing about down south lures is that you can rig them up in a ton of different ways. Sometimes I rig them underneath a popping cork if fish are biting closer to the surface. Normally, you know, like most people, rig them up like these. But the larger down south lures, they do have the opening in the bottom, like this. So you can rig them up like that. If you're getting caught on oyster on the bottom, or if you're snagging things, this is a great way, because when it swims, it's not going to catch on things. But it comes right out. When the fish bite, it's going to pierce through. You're still going to catch them. You're going to be fine. There's a lot of different ways to rig these up. So use it, change them, you know, try different things, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like. Most of the time though, I am doing just your regular rig, but you want different in sizes on jig heads, because you need to be able to change how you fish. Just last week, I was fishing, and I was using way too heavy of a jig head, and I was having a lot of problems. And the buddy of mine, who he was catching fish after fish, and I literally wasn't getting bites at all. And it was as simple as changing my jig head. That's what it is. So you need to change you need to have different size jig heads. You need to be able to change these lures, change them often. You know, if you're not getting bites, switch it up. Have a handful of them. And what I do is I go and I get down south lures, and every time I stop by, you know, Buc-ee's or Bass Pro or whatever, I'll grab another bag. They're not much, they're a few bucks. But it helps grow my collection, but it helps me try new things and get out there. And, you know, sometimes I'll figure out, you know, I really, really like this color in these conditions, and that's what I'm going to use. So definitely try them out. Like I said before, confidence. Find a lure that you really like, stick to it. try a few new things, but that's pretty much it. Try them out. But I'll tell you, down south lures, beyond the color, you know, when you break it down, they just swim really, really well, and you're gonna have luck. And this, you know, if you're starting out in artificials, the two artificials that I would buy right from the get-go is down south lures and gulp. You're not gonna go wrong with either one of those. You're gonna have luck. You're gonna have success in catching fish. You just gotta keep at it. You know, try different things. So anyway, that is that. All right, and one last quick update. Next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, February 16th, I will be up at Lake Conroe for the Pond Hopper Nation event. It is a Teach a Child to Fish Day. I'll be up there with a few other YouTubers. There will be some pro fishermen there, and we will all be helping out children learning to fish. I know that if you register your child into that, they get I think a free fishing rod, and first so many get free tackle and things like that. But regardless, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a blast. If you're in this area and you have children, I highly recommend bringing them out there. It should be a great time. Anyway, I'll be there. Come say hi if you're out there. Please go check out the event. I'll put a website below and details. So anyway, I hope to see you out there. I'd love to meet every one of you. And like always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks again. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification. And we'll see you next time.